Hey everyone, I am better than you at watching anime, so I figured I would do you all a solid with some anime recommendations and a top 10 list of underrated anime. Now, the word underrated is arbitrary, so to make the definition on what qualifies an anime as being underrated more rigid, for this list I selected anime with less than an 8 out of 10 on my anime list and less than 100k ratings. Alright, so the first underrated anime I recommend is Aria. This anime is a chill slice of life show, and if you are a fan of shows like K-On!, Yuru Camp, or Hidamari Sketch, then you will probably enjoy Aria as well. Basically, it's very boring and nothing really happens, like ever, and honestly I had most of it airing as background noise while I did other things around my house. The show follows traditional gondola drivers rowing their rowboat taxis about in a Venice replica city that is built on Mars. The whole Mars ordeal has to be an afterthought though, as 99% of the time you would think the show takes place in Venice, but then once in a while some sort of Martian airship comes flying about and jump scares the shit out of you until you remember, oh yeah, that's right, they're on Mars. It's like the creators felt that the setting was too copy-paste of Venice, so they just slapped on the Mars label on it to make it seem more original. I guess the other weird thing worth mentioning is that cats in this anime have some like crazy supernatural powers. Teleportation, time travel, warping dimensions, levitation, talking to the dead. These are just some of the ways that cats in the show will fuck with our characters. Anyways, I'm definitely making this show sound too exciting. 99% of the show is just boring gondola taxiing, and yeah, Aria will be our kickstart to this list. The next anime I recommend is Flying Witch. If you enjoyed my previous recommendation, Aria, then Flying Witch is just a slightly improved version of that show. It basically takes the nothing ever happens aesthetic to the next level. Literally nothing happens in this anime. Like honestly, compared to Flying Witch, Aria looks like an action-packed anime. I don't remember any of the plot or really characters in this show, but I do just remember that I enjoyed watching this anime. So if you want to spend your time watching something chill and down to earth where nothing happens, then I highly recommend Flying Witch. Next, at number 8 on this list, I selected Haibane Renmei. Now, this is an anime I was made aware of after I finished a book called Hard-Boiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami. The setting and themes in this anime is very heavily inspired by this book, and it honestly feels like a glorified fanfiction. And considering the book by Murakami is one of the best 11 out of 10 pieces of art ever created, it easily follows that an anime fanfiction of the novel would make a good show. This is an anime that is a pretty intellectual and thought-provoking watch, and will leave you with a lot of things to ponder on and unanswered questions. Though I do recommend reading the novel by Murakami first for a better understanding of the setting, and honestly after that just binge read other Murakami books rather than watching other anime on this list, because that's just a superior use of your time. Next up, I selected Saki, and this show is truly the antithesis of Haibane Renmei. Whereas Haibane Renmei has intricate character development, an amazing and whimsical setting, and lots of thought and care put into it, Saki does not. In Saki, the characters are all static, tropey, and predictable, the setting is just a mahjong table, and there really isn't any plot to the show besides characters play Rishi Mahjong. So why do I have Saki ranked above Haibane Renmei if all this is true? Well, unfortunately, Saki is just a superior anime, and there's just not a whole lot I can do about that one. So Saki is an anime about Rishi Mahjong, which is kind of a Japanese version of poker. But honestly, the game they play in the show barely resembles Mahjong, as the show is just hilariously over the top and stupid. Basically, all the characters and rivals have some sort of special Mahjong power. Like this girl powers up when opening her second eye, Scarf Girl collects all the red tiles to stay warm or something, Budget Love Live Maki here purposely goes full retard and gets rewarded for it, this one can time travel into the future, and Pink-Haired Girl's superpower is that she actually plays the game properly. And the show is pretty unintentionally funny with all the 500 IQ thought processes of the players. I would say that this anime also manages to be pretty hype and does a good job at getting you invested in the outcome of the matches. This show is my favorite sport/game anime and is for sure a must-watch for anyone who has played the slightest bit of Rishi Mahjong. Next up on this list, I selected Princess Principal. So if you're someone who recently watched Spy X Family and wanted to watch a bit more of an actual spy anime, But you found other spy shows like Joker Game to be too boring because, well, frankly, a realistic portrayal of being a spy is boring. Then Princess Principal will be right up your alley. Princess Principal is basically a giant ripoff of the video game Dishonored. Like Dishonored, the action in this anime is a more romanticized form of spying and espionage, and the setting is a Victorian steampunk feel. And the plotline is also similar to Dishonored, just a more weeby and gay version of it. And the spy girls are all very attractive and also are unique in how they go about their task. Like Dorothy, who is best girl, is good at blending in, Anji is good at deception and reading people, and the Katana girl just kills everyone in her path. They all truly represent the different builds and low chaos to high chaos playstyles you can go for in Dishonored. Absolutely incredible anime. Okay, so kicking off the upper half of this list at number 5 is Sakura Quest. This anime follows 5 young adults working to revitalize a small rural town, and throughout the show they just come up with new and stupid ideas to try and increase tourism to the village. And all of these ideas are just so inept that you'll just be yelling at your monitor saying, hey, that's not gonna work, and then it doesn't work and the characters are always like, should have got a second opinion on this one. So a lot of the episodic plot in the anime is pretty silly, but where the show truly shines and where it is more focused on is when displaying the character struggles to finding purpose in life. It's basically just some classic cliche existential crisis sort of stuff, but the show does such a good job at showing these struggles of the characters without over-dramatizing things too much. And all 5 of the main characters are just very good, and they all face similar existential struggles but in their own unique way. And these characters also just bounced off each other so well, and it's just overall a very amazing and underrated anime. My next recommendation is Flip Flappers. This is basically a magical girl show where the 2 main characters explore different dimensions. There's a lot of symbolism to art and philosophy, and I would say if you like anime like Fooly Cooly or Madoka Magica, this would be a good watch. It's a pretty episodic and fun show to watch as each dimension the characters visit have their own setting and set of problems to solve. But there is an overall more subtle narrative to this anime that I don't really care to explain since I feel like that would spoil the show and I don't need to impress you all with how smart I am at watching anime. Like, if you've gotten all the way to this point in the video, you've basically implicitly agreed that I am better than you at watching anime. So when I say that Flip Flappers is an underrated must-watch anime, it's not an opinion, it's a fact. And I don't really need to justify it. So kicking off my top 3 for underrated anime will be Kyousougiga. This show is an absolute banger in every sense. The story, the art and animation, the characters are all just very top-notch. And I would say it's similar to Flip Flappers in that if you're a fan of Fooly Cooly or Madoka Magica, then Kyousougiga is for sure worth a try. Kyousougiga is very simply a family drama but told in a very convoluted way. This anime will not spoon-feed you its plot like at all, but if you have at least a basic attention span, then things should start to click pretty naturally onto what's going on, and it's just very satisfying. Each episode will answer a lot of questions, but then present you with a whole list of new questions you want to know the answer to. And even with the show just being 10 episodes, I felt everything gets answered adequately, and it's just so impressive how much they were able to pack into 10 episodes of anime, honestly. Kyousougiga is an incredible anime watching experience, and it's the first show on this list that I would give a 10 out of 10. Alright, next up, and also a 10 out of 10 anime, is Garden of Sinners. Garden of Sinners follows a detective agency that investigates supernatural mysteries, and what these movies do so well is that it takes the supernatural phenomenon in these mysteries that the characters investigate and relates them to the human condition in some way. And the characters in this anime I liked quite a bit. This girl, who's kind of the main character, is a total badass. This guy, who's the main love interest, is not a badass. And red hair girl, who's my favorite, basically has the answers for everything but refuses to get involved like at all while still looking really cool. She truly is a master at leading from behind, having the other 2 characters walk in front of her, and when they fall into a ditch, she is like, well, blimey, should've watched where you were going. And yeah, that's the main formula of the movies. These two get involved in something supernatural, then the red hair girl gives a vague explanation while sounding super cool. And just everything in these movies is so amazing and beautiful, from its animation to its storytelling, subtle character development, and OST. And kind of similar to Kyousougiga, a lot of the experience in watching Garden of Sinners is piecing together the plot yourself. Now, this is partly due to the narrative often being more subtle, but it's mainly due to the movies being non-linear. The first movie, for example, I think is the fourth or maybe it's the fifth movie chronologically, and the second movie is the first chronologically, and so on. So it's kind of a confusing watch until you get to around 3/4 of the way through. Anyways, Garden of Sinners, easy 10 out of 10, fantastic, must-watch anime. Now, the number one, undisputed, most underrated anime is Gunslinger Girl. Like, if you don't realize how Gunslinger Girl is a masterpiece of an anime, then you just have no talent in watching anime, honestly, and it's just embarrassing. So, Gunslinger Girl has a pretty ridiculous premise of being about a secret agency that uses rescued young girls to rework and brainwash them into becoming human cyborgs trained in assassination. And each of these cyborg girls is given a handler, and the duo is called a fratello, which I think means sibling in Italian, but it's used in a sort of tongue-in-cheek way. Now, the thing is, this anime doesn't take this premise lightly, like at all, and it's not at all a show to watch if you just want to watch anime girls with guns doing flashy action. Rather, Gunslinger Girl is more of an existential psychological drama, and honestly, it's just a very sad and depressing anime to watch. And the best way I can shill this anime is that it is basically taking all the good and interesting parts from Neon Genesis Evangelion and ignoring all the bad parts. It's just a very emotionally heavy-hitting franchise that is very woefully underrated, and it's one of the few anime that made me just have to purchase its manga. Alright, you all, so that is a wrap of this top 10 underrated anime list. Hopefully you found a show or two on this list that looked interesting to you, and if you didn't find any of these amazing anime recommendations to look interesting, then you're just an absolutely hopeless anime watcher, and there's just not a whole lot I can do about that one.